Okay, part 8 of my diary. So I was starting my third day not eating, and I woke up that morning. I felt I couldn't stand the thought of going into work that day, so I called into work, and I felt terrible about it, but yeah, I just called in, and so I slept in a little bit after that. And when I woke up, I think I hit my breaking point because it was my third day, starting my third day not eating, and I still had no desire to eat. And I called into work, which is something I never do, and I had a lot of stuff to do. My board exam was in a week, and I was in my last few days of my clinical rotation, and I was scheduled to work that weekend, so I wasn't going to have time over the weekend to do anything. So I was kind of narrowing down to the last few days that I had time to do anything. I had a lot of stuff to do, but I had no motivation and no focus to be able to do it. I had tried to study the night before, and I read a paragraph and nothing went through. I couldn't focus on it, so I gave up on that. So very high stress levels, and not a lot of motivation or focus to do it. So I couldn't stand being in that state anymore. I needed to have some kind of change because I had stuff to do and it needed to get done. So I texted CJ that morning. I told him, I know you don't want to talk to me, but I can't deal with this by myself. I begged for him to talk to me. And he never responded. I laid around in bed for a little bit, waiting for a response, but eventually I told myself, you know what, I took off work. And the reasoning that I gave my clinical instructor was that I needed a day to get, my butt back into gear. So I wasn't going to waste it. I decided I wasn't going to lay around in bed, and so I gave CJ the benefit of the doubt. I didn't believe that if he knew the hard time that I was having, that he would just abandon me. So I just figured maybe he was sleeping or maybe he was at work. So anyways, I made plans to not sit around my apartment that day, and so what I decided to do is I was going to run Michelle's book back by the house, because I didn't know, like I said, I didn't know how fast or slow her moving out process was going to be, and I wanted to make sure she had it. So I planned to go by around 3 o'clock. It was a Tuesday, and so I knew that Michelle and CJ normally worked on Tuesdays, so I figured nobody would be home. But when I got there, I saw Michelle's car there, and I thought about turning around, because at this point, CJ had told Michelle that it was me. At first, he didn't tell her it was me. I don't remember if I said this in my last video or not, but I guess I'll go ahead and say it. But at first, he didn't tell her it was me. He said he didn't want to give her anybody else to hate. But then changed his mind, I guess, because then he was asking me, I think I did say this. I don't remember. Anyways, Michelle knew that it was me. And so when I got there, I decided not to turn around, because I remembered that feeling of feeling like a fugitive, and I didn't like that feeling. I didn't want to feel like I had to run anymore. And so I also decided I was going to be brave. I wasn't going to be a coward. And so I went to the house, and they always leave the doors unlocked, so I just walked in, which there's a fine line between stupidity and bravery, and I crossed it. I didn't know what to do when I walked in that door. I froze up a little bit because I didn't see Michelle at first, so I didn't know whether to call out, because they would have heard me come in. I didn't know whether to call out or just set the book down and leave quietly. So in my moment of freezing up, the person who came to see who it wasn't Michelle, but it was CJ, and I was surprised because I didn't expect for both of them to be at the house at the same time. It never occurred to me, because I figured Michelle was probably there because CJ was at work. And I even had the fleeting thought of asking Michelle if she needed any help with anything, which was a stupid thought, but oh well. But anyway, so it was CJ who came to see who was at the door, and he gave me an extremely dirty look. He looked a little murderous, and I was hurt. Well, I guess CJ and I talked a little bit about it later, but, and he said, he wasn't angry, he was just surprised. And, sometimes people give looks they don't intend to give, but I think other times people give looks, realize that they shouldn't have, and then change their story. And I don't know which one it is the case with CJ, because I don't know if I can really trust what he says anymore. But anyways, so I was hurt, and I was going to leave, but then I changed my mind because it was the day that I had given myself to get better. I took off work for it, and so I begged CJ to talk to me. And he refused, and Michelle told me to get out of her house. So I figured, well, if Michelle's not moving out, then they're getting back together. So I was a little indignant about that. I didn't understand how, CJ could be accepted and forgiven for everything that he had done, and then, both of them, treat me like crap. I mean, Michelle, it's understandable to hate me, but I didn't understand why CJ was treating me so poorly when I felt like he had done more wrong than I had ever done. So yeah, I left the house, and I was in a worse state than how I started the morning. And so I didn't know what to do, so I called my brother, and I also texted Tanner, because he was kind of a little bit of a brotherly figure, away from home. So I texted both of them, and my brother called me back. We chat for a while, and it was a little comforting to talk to him. I told him about everything. And my brother is someone who, he's experienced life. He's been hurt by other people, and he's hurt other people. And it was kind of comforting to know that I wasn't alone in the fact that I've messed up. And that it's just something to learn from and move on, you know. He told me, you know, you have to not talk to CJ anymore because he's like a fire, you know. If you try to get in contact with him again, you know, you're just burning yourself. And all I can tell you then is I told you so. And I wasn't quite ready to let go of CJ at that time. I mean, the idea was kind of forming in my head, but I wasn't quite ready yet. So, but then after I talked with my brother some, you know, I was texting Tanner, and so we arranged to meet up later that night, because I told Tanner about what happened at the house, you know, and so he agreed to meet up with me. He told me, you know, I'm not gonna give you any pity because you were in the wrong. I told him, I know I was in the wrong, and I'm not asking for pity for that, but you know, I did need help getting out of my depression, because, I mean, I don't think I called it depression at that point, but that's, you know, when you're not eating and not able to focus on anything and have no motivation to do anything, and I don't know. I call it, I mean, I don't know. I haven't gone to a doctor and been clinically diagnosed or anything, but if someone isn't eating because of emotional distress, that's enough for me to call it depression. So yeah, anyways, we agreed to meet up, so we did, and by the time that I met up with him, I was determined, you know, to at least nibble on something, even though I still had no desire whatsoever to eat, and I think at that point, I don't know if my stomach could have handled anything. But anyways, we met up, you know, and we talked about things, you know, and it just felt good to be acknowledged, you know, and, you know, Tanner also talked about, I don't understand why you and Michelle try to get as much attention from CJ as you guys do. Like, it's pathetic. And he was right, you know, because he told me, he's like, CJ's manipulative. I've seen him manipulate Michelle, and I've seen him manipulate you. And I don't let him do that to me, kind of a thing. And it felt good to be told the truth about my relationship with CJ. And it felt, like I said, it felt good to be acknowledged, and it felt good to be supported. And so I was feeling better by the end of the night. Tanner lectured me about positive energy, kind of like the book I was talking about in my part 4. He was talking about positivity and negativity, and how if you're positive, you draw positive things towards you and stuff like that. And so Tanner was putting out all of his good vibes. He's a little bit of a hippie. He was putting out all his good vibes toward me, and, you know, trying to make me feel better. And I did feel better, but I think he didn't understand that I wasn't just going to flip a switch. He kind of wanted me to get into party mode. And, you know, I was tired. I didn't have the energy to be in party mode like he wanted me to be. So I think he later was a little offended by the fact that he spent so much time trying to help me, and I never got to party mode. Even though I told him I felt better by the end of the night. I don't know. whatever. It doesn't make sense until I get into the story further, but so yeah, he spent all night trying to help me, and I felt better. So we were out a little late, like maybe around midnight, or well, I got home around 1, I think. And I stayed up to do homework because it was the first time that I had motivation to do anything. So I stayed up doing homework, and then he called me later. I guess he had gotten home later and talked to CJ. And whatever they talked about somehow made Tanner angry at me, and I still don't fully understand what he was angry with me about. I think he was angry with me for the fact that I had begged CJ earlier that day to be talking to me. He was angry about that, I guess. And he said something about, like, don't, call me and waste my time because you can't get over a simple heartbreak or something like that. I don't know. And I just remember being angry with him because I'm like, how, you have a mother who has depression and you go to help her. Well, it's postpartum depression, I guess. And you help her, and yet you can turn around and shame somebody else who's also suffering from depression. And I guess his thing was I put myself into it because of what I had done. And I guess because of that, he doesn't see the need to help someone. I guess in his eyes, if someone is suffering from depression because of something that they've done, then they don't deserve to be helped. And I guess I was at the point where it was like, depression is a miserable place to be. And I think regardless of how somebody gets there, they should have help. So yeah, we argued about that. I don't understand his logic. I mean, I guess I do to an extent, where if you do something wrong, you deserve what you get coming to you. But I guess at what point do you decide that that's enough, that they've suffered enough? I don't know. Maybe that's something I still need to come to terms with, too. Anyways, I guess I'll end this segment. I know I'm super over time, but I guess I'll end this segment with something that I love. I love summer nights. Last night, I was driving back from I went to a band practice. I joined a band. I'm going to be the singer. But anyways, I was driving back, and I took all the back roads home. Had the window down, and it just felt good to be driving down old familiar roads. And when I got home, there was a thunderstorm, or thunder clouds, a little south of where I was, and I could see it from almost, from most of the main roads and stuff, and so I got to see a light show. When I got home, the clouds above were kind of spotty, so I could see some stars. So I saw a shooting star last night between all the clouds and stuff, and it was just kind of cool because there was all the lightning flashes down south, and then above me were, patches of stars, and I got to see a shooting star. So, yeah, I like driving around on summer nights. And I'll see you guys all later. I'm gonna go meet up with my personal trainer. I might actually be running a little late for that. Hopefully he forgives me. But yeah, till next time.